Hello, my name is Debbie, Owlandgatorstitcher. Welcome to Flosstube number 56. Today is Wednesday, July 19th, 2023. This is a video mainly about cross stitch, and sometimes I throw in a little bit about what I've been reading and watching. So it's been almost 3 weeks since my last video, so thank you to everyone's patience as you've hung on with me as I've sort of moved from 2 weeks to almost 3 weeks between my videos. But I really appreciate all the comments that I get and all the interaction with you, and I just love having a sounding board for my stitching and just love the passion that everyone has in sharing this great hobby. Past few weeks, I can't say there's been any good reason why I haven't filmed. It's been relatively quiet here. We had a quiet 4th of July, a few people setting off fireworks on our streets, but nothing too bad, and our cat seemed to sleep through it, so that's always good. But other than that, nothing too exciting going on here, so I am going to jump in and start showing you my stitching. So the first piece I have to show you is actually a finish. So here it is. This is Ruffled Feathers from Lindy Stitches. So this is part of a class I'll be taking this weekend. We're going to learn how to make a needle book. So I don't really sew, so this will push my sewing skills to their limits, but the whole point of taking a class is to learn something. And Lindy Stitches organized it and she designed the pattern, but I think a lot of the teaching will be done by Lois from Lady Dot Creates. So I did get the full box, which included not only the pattern, but all of the supplies that you need. I need to do a quick run through. I think there's a few things we have to provide ourselves, like a sewing needle, which I have, but I need to make sure I have everything. So I may be making a quick trip to Joann's if I'm missing something. But anyhow, this is which will be the top of the needle book, and Stephanie from Lindy Stitches included letters for the whole alphabet, so I chose to put the D in there. So I think this turned out really cute, and it's just on a 32 count linen. Colorway is gray. I don't know. It's not an over dyed, so I don't know, and it's all DMC floss. So just a cute little stitch that it took me less than a month to stitch this. Just a few long sessions to get most of it done, and then a few little bit here and there. But a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to the class this weekend. And if you are going to be on the class as well, just drop me a line below and let me know that you'll be there. Okay, so that is the first piece I have to show you. No more finishes and no new starts, although I have to say I am getting a very serious case of startitis. I don't know why, but we'll see. We'll see if how many starts I have coming up in the next few weeks. I'm trying to resist the urge, but we'll see. So the next piece I worked on, this is the Bald Eagle. This is from A Year in the Woods. So I do intend to do the whole series, but I started with this one. And I am doing 3 on 1 piece of fabric. So this is the summer group. So this is the Bald Eagle. And this is a 32 count even weave. The color is cypress, and I think it's color in cotton, although I'm not 100% sure. It's definitely a piece of fabric I got when I was doing Fabric of the Month clubs. So basically on this, I finished this wing. So that was a lot of the dark gray down here, and then some of the black that sort of comes in between the wings about up to here. Did a lot of this dark brown here on the body of the eagle. And then this starts the wing over here, sort of the matching part here. Although the wings are not perfectly symmetrical, which is fine. Obviously, if you're looking at a bird straight on, and when his head is turned like that. You can see, for example, down here, this part of the wing comes out like this, where it goes straight down here. So a few differences, but this is a lot of fun to stitch. Most of it is DMC. I am using the two over-dyed flosses that are called for, which are Weeks Dye Works. Although one of them has gone missing. I have got to find a better way. I normally just, when I have over-dyed, store them with their individual projects. And somehow a couple of them have gone walking over the past couple of months. I don't know what's going on. Sometimes I know if they follow the bag, okay, I'll find them behind where I store my projects. But for whatever reason, they've been walking and I can't find them. So anyhow, that is where this one is. Okay, the next one I have to show you, I did do quite a bit of work on it earlier this month. This is Huckleberry Farm by the Blue Flower. I am in a chat group, and we each have taken our own projects and broken them into 12 parts. And we're each just doing, a 12 part. So I had basically like page 1 done. That was all I had done of this project. So I broke down the rest into 12 parts. I didn't do like here. I sort of picked motifs and said, this is what I'm going to get done. And it's not necessarily even breakdown. Some months I knew I wasn't going to have as much time. And so I picked smaller motifs. So I've been keeping up. So my goal this month, and I just said that I don't do it by page, but this month, what I wanted to do was get the vines on. So this vine started on page 2 and it goes over to page 3. So I wanted to get everything done on page 2 and 3. So I've got the stem of the vine done, all of the outside of the leaves, the white of these light buds are very pale. I guess that's a very pale yellow. And then now I've started working on the berries. I don't want to say lots of colors, but they're not solid block stitching either. So I have to go do the berries and then come back. And I think for each of these buds, there are 3 or 4 stitches of a different color, which also is in the veins of the leaves. And then each of the berries, when they're done, they have 1 stitch of a different color to capture sort of the reflection of the light to make it a little bit paler. And then I think there's a little bird and a little chipmunk also that I need to do. A lot of fun to stitch this, but this, I sort of have been procrastinating and put this part off because it is a lot of counting and I know I have a mistake. I also then found a mistake here that I need to go back and fix because my O and P are 1 stitch too small. So it's not even the whole letter. My O was supposed to have, I think, 4 or 5 stitches down and I did 1 stitch too few, and then copied it for the P when I did it. So I need to go back in so that these letters are the same size. And it wasn't necessarily that I caught it by looking at the pattern. When I looked at it, I could tell the size that they seemed smaller. And if it was noticeable enough to me, then I decided that I really needed to fix it so that it wouldn't bother me when I finally get this done. My goal is to get this done this year. And I think I've been doing a good job, even though I've shifted around what I'm doing every month of following at least one of those 12 things that I wanted to get done. So I do have to go back and work on this a little bit more this month in order to achieve my goal. Next piece is first time I've worked on it this year. This is Love One Another. It's from an old issue of Cross Stitch and Country Craft. And I just love the way the colors pop on this. And even this, I find that they're paler than the way that they're popping on the fabric. So this is, I think, a 16 count Aida, really old Aida that I had in my stash. Very, very stiff Aida. So very crunchy, which in some ways I'm fine to work on, but because there are some quarter stitches, it does sometimes get a little bit difficult to pierce. But this time when I worked on, I pulled out this is all DMC, but I'm calling this like a seafoam color, and put in the E and most of the R. And like many people, I had intentions of coming back and finishing and then just never got around to it. I am participating in Fandom Stitching Central this year, and they're sort of doing a version of Whipgo. They're calling it, I think, Ringo. And basically it's, you create your own board, and then every week they pull a number. This is just going for the summer. Every week they pull a number, and your goal is to get as many stitches as possible in that project that you chose. And so I deliberately put on a mixture of projects, some of my focus projects, but then some I hadn't worked on in a long time, so that they would get some love. So this one did get quite a bit of love. I shouldn't say didn't get that much love, but at least got picked up. So I will definitely be coming back to this at some point. I don't want to say in the near future, but I love watching the colors pop out. And it is very warm here today. You can see I'm like getting a little bit shiny. All right, moving on to the next piece. Also another magazine piece. This is from the World of Cross Stitching. I believe it's December 2020. So this is what their piece looks like. Mine is looking substantially different because you'll see the fabric that I used. So it's from Valkyrie Stitchworks, I think is the name of the company. She sells through Facebook, but she hasn't done anything in a long time. Loved this fabric that I bought from her though. The Stitching in the Springs retreat, she's the one who organizes that in Ohio, and I went for a couple of years. And so when she was still selling her fabrics, I just saw this, didn't know what I wanted to do on it, fell in love with it, and thought this piece would be perfect for it. But I didn't think like the red necessarily would go in here. So I changed that to pink and had to change some other colors as a result. Also, there was shadowing on the letters, and I just couldn't find the right shade of pink to go with the shadowing. So I've chosen to leave it off, which has made it challenging at time because you can see like in the middle of the letters, some of this blue goes. And so I'm having to like extend the blue and trying to decide, is it this darker blue? Is it the lighter blue? I'm just sort of making it up as it goes along. It's not too critical, but I want to make sure that I do something there so that I'm not leaving sort of blank spaces in between those letters. And so this time I just pulled out that dark blue that you see up there and worked on that a little bit. So for the Magazine Monthly Challenge, I sort of put that on pause a little bit this month, or this year rather, and I decided to get back into it. And this month's theme was safari. I don't have any ongoing magazine pieces that have animals and didn't feel like starting anything new. So I just said we read about a lot of safaris in books. And Carolyn and Robin, who are the moderators of that group, for them, they're not, I've never heard them say, that really doesn't fit. They're like, if you can tell a story, it works. And, Carolyn hearted my posting of this, in terms of my explanation. So she was good with it. So anyhow, so that is Reading is Magical. Okay. Next piece is one I'm sure you've seen before. This is A Year at Hawk Run Hollow by Carriage House Samplings. So I've already done all of these blocks, and so I am now moving down to November. So that is what I have been working on. And here is that's the October block. I just popped, I shouldn't even say I deliberately did it. I for my Lowry stand, I've started putting Velcro on my key snaps to hold it better in place in the stand. Because not so much while I'm stitching, but when I'm flipping it over so that I can tuck the thread under when I finished a length of thread. It was slipping out and it was really driving me crazy. And I was on a Zoom call and asking people what they do, and that was one of the suggestions. And so it's Velcro. Let me see, I've got some right somewhere. I've got some. Now, of course, here it is. So I just Amazon Prime Day, I went in and bought some. And so what it is, it's Velcro and double-sided, so I'm not gonna pull it, unstick it, but basically I put one piece. The length of the Lowry stand is about this. The clamp is about this long. Peel off the sticker, put one side, and then on my Q snaps, I'm sticking that on the Q snap. And I want to see if I have one here where the thing is off, and I do. So this is the thing. So I've got a bunch of these extras now because this is the side that I've attached to the Lowry, and that doesn't need to come out. So I just have these extras sitting around in case I ever have a problem with it. But it's been working great. Holding everything in, and a lot of my frustrations are gone. So I'm liking my Lowry a lot better now. But anyhow, I pulled that off because when I went to pull it out, the Velcro was so grippy that it pulled out the Q snap, which is fine because that means that this can rest outside of the Q snap. So yeah, you just get a little sneak peek of, if I can show it to you, of October. And anyhow, this is November, so I'm not even sure what these things are, if they are stalks of wheat or like dead corn stalks or reeds. I don't know why they'd be reeds in November. Whatever they are. Worked on this quite a bit, and then I did a lot of this dark brown here, so this is starting to get into one of the turkeys, and I capped off this acorn. So this one actually has a birthday tomorrow, so I will pull this out again. I want to give this one a lot of love. It's been sitting there for quite a while, and I realized it had been months since I worked on it, so I did want to pull it out and get some good progress on it, because those turkeys are really cute. So that is Year at Hawk Run Hollow. And that I'm doing, this is actually a 36 count linen. I want to say it's color, I think it's Heartland is the color, but I could be wrong. Next piece I worked on a little bit was Portrait of Veronica by Mirabilia. So this is my oldest non-full coverage. So I started this in March 2020. I had visions at the beginning of the year that I was going to get this done by the Mirabilia retreat, and that is not going to happen. That is in October. But I have gotten quite a bit done this year. So I'm working in the bottom of the dress here. So I was doing some challenge where I needed certain colors. So I ended up doing the black and then a little bit of this sort of light, I think this is 747. So I did some of that up here. I do plan to go back later in this month and start filling in on the dress here. Once I get that done, I'll be comfortable then to move the Q-snap to another part. So you can see, I'm not going to pull out of the Q-snap right now, but you can see I've done all of her skin and her bodice. So I love, to me, the Mirabilia is the fun part is working on the dresses. So I deliberately left that part, or I did the skin and the other part at the beginning so I can have a lot of fun with the dress when I get towards the end of the project, because I find if I leave, it's like, why do we save dessert for the end? Because if we ate the dessert first, we wouldn't eat the healthy parts. It's kind of how I feel about stitching. I like to save, my favorite stitching towards the end of the project, because that gets me really excited. And when I want to get that really final push, I can do it. Next piece I worked on was Haunted Mansion. This is by Tiny Modernist. I am doing this as a round robin. So each of us had to build the frame of the house, and then we are passing it around. There's 9 of us. There's 6 rooms and the trees and that. So I think actually when it comes back, 8 parts will be done, and then we do the 9th part. I could be wrong with my math. So, and also I am really looking forward to it. A lot of people who are doing this round robin are going to be at a retreat I'm going to next month. So it'll be great to actually meet them, because I haven't met any of those people who are participating in round robin in person yet. So this month I worked on this little room here. So got in this vampire, and I love how they have the mirror here and deliberately with no reflection, because I think vampire lore says that vampires, you can't see their reflection. And then did the little fireplace and the chandelier and stuff. And so this will go out in the mail. Actually, I'm going to send it out today to the next person so she can have a chance to work on it. So that has been a lot of fun to participate in that. And we've already sort of been talking about bouncing around some ideas for what we, if we want to continue, and what we might do after this project is finished. Next piece I worked on was 3 dancers. This is from Stitching Jewels Designs. This is a full coverage project, but it is a smaller full coverage project. I think it's 140 by 190, which works out to under 26,000 stitches. So as a full coverage, it's quite small. And she gifted this to me, and the only stipulation was that I work on it and show it on my videos. And it has been so much fun to stitch on. Just the vibrant colors and how quickly it's, because it is smaller, it does go so quickly. So I basically have just been filling in background at this point, maybe a little bit on the bottom of this dancer's costume. And this is filled in, that is white, but just pulling in and doing lots of oranges and yellows. And it's just been a lot of fun working on this. So I was hoping to get to the point where I could move the Q-snap. Not quite there yet. I'll probably work on this like another month or so, get this pulled over a little bit. And then once I get to about this point here, then I can get the Q-snap, and that will be the last time I have to move it on this project. So hoping to get this one done by the end of the year. So this is 3 dancers from Stitching Jewels, and I'm just doing it on a 18 count Aida that I had in my stash. Next piece I pulled out was from the Black Needle Society, Autumn and Stars Hollow. Summer and spring have already come out, so I'm way behind because I'm still working on the first one. I am doing this all as one piece. So here on the back, they sort of lay out for you like the order they should go. And so I had in my stash, I had a piece of 28 count linen that was long and skinny. So it fit this project. And so here is where I am now. And so most of what I did a lot of this red sort of in here. This is actually 3 shades of red. So this is the Harvard pennant. There's a Yale one here. This background here around, this will ultimately be a football. And then I filled in a little bit on her skirt. So I just worked on this yesterday. I had a challenge where I wanted to put in some red stitches, which is why I pulled this out. And then I sort of finished all the red in this area. So I went over and started filling in the skirt. So that is Autumn in Stars Hollow. Next piece I worked on. This is Old World Map from Artisy. This is the large version. This is one that I originally started working on a true diagonal and just realized that wasn't for me. So I shifted over and pulled in all the park threads, and now I'm doing it cross country. And so I keep thinking upside down. I keep thinking I have got to, I'm almost done with, this is the North Pole, and yet I'm not. I have all the stitches over, on this half here, though, are done. You can see here, this is, I guess, Canada. Still needs a lot of stitches in here, and then you can see the longitudinal lines are broken, so all that needs to get filled in as well. So all of this, the ocean color is 3865. So all of that is done. But it's, it's deceptive on how much there still is in here. I mean, I probably put in 400 stitches, and yes, some of that did go over here, which is the background here, but it's deceptive how much there actually is and how long it will take. But that's been a lot of fun working on this. I love it. My husband and I are starting to plan what I call real travel. We went to Puerto Rico last month, and we're planning a big trip next year. And so we're just looking. So I had put this away for a while during the pandemic because it made me sad that I couldn't travel. Not that I have a desire to go to the North Pole, because I don't like cold. But it's really fun to pull this out and work on it and just think about all the places I can go. So that is Old World Map. And the last piece I have to show you, which I show almost every video, this is Cats in the Toy Box, artwork by Leslie Ann Ivory, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. So I am getting so close. I think I'm somewhere between 88 and 89% done now on this. So I spent a lot of time working on the back end of this toy horse. So the tail is totally done. I just love the way the colors all sort of play in there. Got his hindquarters done, the wheel done, this wooden board. So you can see I have some, obviously in the basket, some of the colors. Most of this is black, and it'll pull over. And then I did a lot on filling in the colors down the border here. You can see starting to get a little bit broken here. And then obviously I worked a lot in the saddle. There's a little bit more Kreinik that has to go in there, but this is getting very close to the point where I can move the Q-snap, and if I have measured correctly, I should be able to get all of the remaining section in done with the final Q-snap move. So that will be really exciting. I may be a little bit off, to be honest. I won't know until I pull it out exactly how big the area is, but I think when I looked at it, when I put the Q-snap here, I think I said, work on it for a couple months this way, and then you can move it again. So just loving the way this piece is turning out. And again, I have a goal to finish it at the end of this year. So that is all of the stitching I have to show you. So my plans, most of sort of my monthly goals I've already met, which I'm really excited about. So I will, in some of my games, I have the weekly prompts, which I will continue to meet. But I'm also looking forward to pulling out some projects that don't necessarily fit in with prompts, but need some love. So that'll be fun to pull those out as well. And then, of course, I mentioned earlier, I am working on fandom. So I have no idea what will be pulled for next week. This week, it is one of my full coverages. So that will get some love this week as well. I have up in the air if I'm going to participate in Whip Warriors, what they call Whip Frenzy, where over a fixed period of time, you try and get like 100 to 200 stitches into as many projects as possible. I'm a little bit up on the fence whether I'm going to do that. because I'm doing the class on Saturday. And I'm never going to be the person who gets the most. But sometimes, especially if I'm sitting in the class and I get a little frustrated, I may just want comfort stitching in the evening, and changing a lot of projects isn't leading to comfort stitching. So we'll see what happens. So those are my plans. I have quite a bit of things I purchased. Last time I didn't have anything to show you, so I think I have made up for it this time. So if you are only here to look at stitching, thank you. I have some stuff to show you, and then I do have a book and a TV show to talk about. So first thing I want to show you, I was on a Zoom, and they were talking about, I guess, the Mira Embellishments group, which is basically a buy and sell for Mirabilias. And the moderator of that is also someone, she has a store. I don't know if it's a brick and mortar or if it's just an online store, but she really specializes in Miras. And she's not a passive moderator. She's actively trying to hook up buyers and sellers, and she's not buying stuff from the secondary market and then reselling it. So this is sort of out of the generosity of her time that she is organizing it. So she put up a post initially and said, what are some out of print charts that people are looking for? And I posted that I was looking for Queen of Freedom, love Lady of the Flag, but I'm not willing to pay the prices that they're going for. And then she ended up, because it just was getting a little bit overwhelming, creating for each of those took the names of people who said they're looking for things, created separate posts for the popular out of print charts, and listed our names. And she said, if you're a seller, reach out to the person. So someone reached out to me and said, hey, was you interested in buying it? She's like, I'm selling it for the price that I paid for it. So it is out of print chart, but I thought it was a reasonable price. And so, you're always a little bit nervous when you're, buying from someone who doesn't have a track record. Let's put it that way. If you're buying from a store, if they have good customer service, if, they're selling things legitimately. When you're buying from a de-stash site, you're never 100% sure. But the woman, I looked, she had been in the group for a couple of years. So I figured the moderator, because she was so active, if there were, people trying to sell knockoffs or whatever, she's the moderator is very pro following copyright laws. And if someone was trying to sell knockoffs, they immediately get kicked out of the group. So, I saw this person was in the group for a while, so she clearly wasn't doing that. So anyhow, and as soon as I said, yes, I'd like to buy it, she said, thank you, I'm at work. I'm going to the post office later. So like within an hour, I said, just send me an invoice through PayPal and I'll pay that way. Within an hour, not only did she send me the invoice and I probably paid it within 15 minutes, she was already at the post office ready to mail it. So anyhow, this is what I purchased. So this is Queen of Freedom, and it's unopened. It's got a little bit of a crease here. Doesn't bother me. I did open it up from the side to take a peek in there, and it all seems to be good. So thank you very much. I don't know if the seller watches my videos. I don't know why she's just reached out to me, because there were a bunch of us there. She was in the U.S., but this kind of chart, I think it's mainly people in the U.S. who want to buy it anyhow. But I'm really grateful to her, and everything worked out. So I got this, and I'm really, really excited about this. Haven't really started collecting any of the materials for it. Not sure really what fabric I'm going to use on it. I see people who have stitched like Lady in the Flag on, I think it's picture this plus heroic, and I like that. Not quite sure as the flag being so much here, how that color will play on it. I need to take some time to think about it, but this is definitely something that I would like to start, when I say sooner rather than later, that means like within the next year. It doesn't mean next week. Because one of the things that I have to, that I purchased, and I have to bite the bullet and take a deep breath, get ready to stitch it. I was supposed to attend a retreat in October in Tampa that Janine McGowan from the Blue Flower was supposed to attend. Unfortunately, the signups, the way that the retreat worked, it was limited to a certain Facebook group, and it basically is meant for stitchers who have who either live in Florida or have a strong relationship to Florida, like maybe you're a snowbird or something. And so because it wasn't sort of open to everyone, I think the attendance and she's done other these retreats, but for whatever reason, this one, maybe it was the time of year, just wasn't getting the same attention or not participation that she would like. So she said, hey, let's move this to an online forum because maybe that will make it less cost prohibitive. But actually I was not thrilled about that. I prefer in-person retreats. I mean, I do Zoom calls and stuff with stitchers, but I don't prefer, I prefer, there's something about being in the space and really being able to look at people stitching and just that energy that you get in a room that I find really, really stimulating about retreats, which is why I like to go to them. And she said, okay, I'm going to move to this online. The price went down. She was hoping that by lowering the price point, it would make it more attractive to people, but actually a lot more people dropped out. As you know, the blue flower is one of my favorites. So, I took the money from that and I told my husband, I only paid the retreat fee at that point. She refunded 100%. And, I never mind the hotel and everything else I would have paid to have gotten there. And my husband and I, he's like, well, that was money spent. He's like, nice, because I said there was a bigger purchase I wanted to make. And he's like, just go for it. So my bigger purchase, and I'm going to say Maggie from Kitschy Wits made me do it. She doesn't even know who I am, but I was on a Zoom with her and she was talking, of course, about a chatelaine. And so I went to European Cross Stitch and I looked at everything they had and decided this is the one I wanted. So this is Holland Springtime. I'm trying to get the exact name. So it's got sort of Dutch designs in there. I'm not going to be able to get much out of the glare. And it was great on that Zoom because Maggie does a lot of chatelaines, and other people on there also had done it. And I was getting advice because I had heard mixed things. Some people said it's better to get the PDF because the patterns the paper patterns can be difficult to read. And so she said, yes, you can get the PDF, but sometimes the way that they were digitally done, because they're more than a decade old, sometimes actually digitally they're really small. And if you're using a device like, and you can blow it up, that's great. But if you're trying to print it from that, it doesn't really work on some of the designs. Everyone is different. So I sort of went back and forth and I said, okay, I'm going to get the paper copy. If for some reason I can't read this, I will end up getting the digital, but I've heard it can be difficult. So I'm going to start with this. So I also picked up some fabric from Brick City. I don't know who the dyer of this, but it's a 32 count Agana. And that's what Chatelaine does recommend. So this is really not gonna. So it's a very pale blue with sort of a little bit of very light, sort of almost like white fabric, and then like the dye didn't go on there, to give it sort of a cloud effect. So I thought that would be nice to go with some of the blues in the pattern. And then I ordered so if you have been to European Cross Stitch, there are options. I chose to get the thread pack without the Gloriana because I thought I could, people just, from what I've heard, Glorianas are really hard to get. So I said, let me get the thread pack without the Gloriana. And if I can source them, great. Otherwise, I'll figure it out. So you can see and there's dinky dyes and there's some Petite Treasure Braid, and there's lots of other, and it thread works. I also chose not to get the MPI because I thought that the price of those silks it was $170 for the silk pack, and those threads they're not variegated, and so it's between $4 or $5 a skein, and I just decided I'd rather use my DMC. That there's nothing wrong with MPI, it's lovely. But it is very expensive, and I'll use my DMC and I'll be fine with that. And then I also got the beads, which are Delicas, the bead pack as well. So it comes really nicely packaged. So that's sort of take a deep breath and be prepared to do that start. So that may be an August start, or I may chicken out and not do that. So we shall see. That is definitely Maggie made me do it. So, and then This is one that Laura from Stitching by the Shore, this is one she made me do. So she kept talking about to dye for fabrics, that they were having a sale on some of her already dyed fabrics. And again, whatever it was in the month of June, and then at least the beginning of July, they were 30% off. So at that point, I was like, okay, go take a look. 30% off dyed fabrics. And she, I think, was trying to clear out some of her inventory, her pre-dyed inventory, or already dyed inventory. And so I couldn't help myself. So I ended up buying 3 pieces. And I think that she had so many people buying it that she broke her scale. So it took, she immediately contacted me and said, I will ship these once I get a new scale, because otherwise, like, it's telling me the weight is wrong. And she was going to pay a lot more for shipping when she knew it was just the scale and not postal services shipping prices. And she's also here in Florida, so she's only a couple hours away from me. So first one I got was, this is called Artistic Violet, and this is things are falling, a 32 count even weave. So this is beautiful, beautiful sort of bluish purple. So really excited about that. And then this is a 36 count linen, which normally is a little bit too small for me, but I just love this color. And it's called Parakeet Blue. So it is about as bright blue as it's showing up there. Really, really sort of a bright, vibrant sort of turquoise blue. And then the last color is a 18 count Ada. This is our purple tourmaline. So it is purple, but more of a reddish purple than this one, which I would say is more of a bluish purple. So when you put them, obviously this one's getting a little bit blown out and looking a little bit more periwinkle. But really happy to get those at a great price. And then Grand Totem Bags had a bag sale, so I decided to take a look. And now everything is really falling. Hold, please. Okay, I'm back. So I had the bag sale, so I purchased one bag. And this is got little teapots and teacups and plates on it, just roses. Really pretty fabric. And then the inside is just sort of a plain polka dot fabric. So it's pretty. And then, of course, before the sale started, I threw other things into my cart. So this is the thing that was running away, and I really want to show it. So I bought this Bella Filipina. It's my first one. It's called Snow White. And sorry, it's not called Snow White. It's called Poison Apple, which obviously is based on Snow White. So I bought that, and then I got the bead pack that went with it. So, and I was watching someone who was talking about she opened up the someone who does a lot of mirrors and was happy to do the mirrors, but we all know with mirabilias they're sort of unwieldy, and this one goes page by page, and they were very excited about that. So I will like that as well. And then I also, the last chart I got from them, this is Madame Lafay, something in French, which I don't speak, but it does mean like the sweetness of the garden. So really pretty. And then someone I know, she actually posts on the D-Stash site, but I got this from her directly. She owned a cross-stitch store in my town. I think she closed it in the 80s or 90s, probably the 90s, retired. And so she's now really destashing. So I thought she was originally planning to do a garage sale, but I think it was just too much for her to organize. And so she was doing sort of mystery boxes. So I ended up buying a mystery box from her. Lots of stuff in there. I'm not going to show most of it. But one of the things that was in there was this book. And it's from Cooler Design Studios. So a lot of charts. It doesn't have the charts that I think a lot of people see, the 4 seasons that a lot of people have been working on, which are beautiful. But it does have some, I'm trying to find, like this one is really cute. This is about happy is a home that happy is a home that shelters a friend. So obviously about adopting shelter animals. Trying to find the one that won't pop up. This is not the one. I'm not going to find it quickly. I'm not going to go all the way through, but this is another pretty one as well. There are also things where you can make like clothing, like dolls clothing. Not my thing either, but lots of projects in there. These are just some of the charts, more vintage. So, but like one of them is like the celebration alphabet. So, if I ever am looking for an alphabet, there's another alphabet one. There's a lot of animals, some older magazines. So lots of stuff to go through, and then some floss and other supplies. All right, that is it for the haul portion or stash acquisitions. So that is really it for the cross stitching. So I do have one book to talk about and one TV show. So the book I finished that I'm going to talk about, it's one I got from Goodreads. I entered a giveaway and got it. So it's called Much Ado About Nothing. Uzma Jalal, I don't know exactly how to pronounce her last name, Jalaluddin. And she is a Canadian-based author. And basically, obviously it's a play of Much Ado About Nothing, but this is actually a retelling, a modern day retelling of Jane Austen's Persuasion, and not, as far as I can tell, a retelling of Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing. But the character's name is Nada, so I think she wanted to have a fun title. It is basically about a contemporary woman. She's probably about 30 at the beginning of the book. And basically she is a Muslim woman currently living at home, and she is, I want to say she's an engineer. It's been about a month since I've read this book. I think she's an engineer, but like when she was in university, she developed an app, and then the app idea got stolen from the son of a family friend. And so basically like sort of crushed her professional dreams. And then she also wants to, and then her love life, she also had someone she loved, and that got crushed as well. So sort of, someone who sort of retreated into her home with her parents, and, she's working, she's, it's not like, and she's got friends and all of that. It's not like she's turned into a hermit, but, she's sort of settled into a life, but it's not all she can be. And it basically, in the way of Jane Austen books, of course, everyone is determined to fix her up with someone. And, her parents want her to get married, and her best friend who's getting married wants her to get married. And it's a lot of fun. It goes back, the guy who she's going to end up with, it goes back and goes over her history with him. I will say the time shifts are a bit clunky at times, as well as sort of, it's been a really long time since I've read Persuasion, so I don't know how closely this is following it, but I'm wondering if some of the clunkiness comes from trying to follow that story a little bit much. I could be wrong, but I enjoyed it. So, and I am talking about it because this was a giveaway for me, and that's part of the unwritten deal. I mean, it's given to me for free. I could throw it in the garbage. They don't care. They're not going to say anything, but they do like you if they, as part of the giveaway, to promote a book. So they want honest reviews. So this is my honest review. Much Ado About Nada. All right. And the TV show I want to talk about, it's called Beef. I think it's a Hulu show. Must be Hulu because I get ads in the middle of it. But basically it is a TV show about takes place in the Chicago restaurant industry. We binge watched the first 2 seasons. We have 1 episode left. The first season, it's sort of setting the stage, but it's basically about a guy who is a world-class chef whose brother owns a restaurant in, it's like I want to call it a sandwich shop, but it's not like a Subway. It's a beef. So, it's cooking, but it's like fresh made food sandwiches, so not subs. I don't know how to describe it. Italian beef sandwiches is sort of, I think, the theme. But the idea behind it is that his brother died and left him the restaurant, and so he's going back and he's trying to, deal with all the problems in this restaurant. His brother was a drug addict, and so, sort of managing a restaurant that was hanging on by a thread. and sort of how he deals with that. And then the second season, they deliberately closed the restaurant at the end of season 1. Sorry, that's a spoiler alert. In season 2, but they're planning to open up a much better restaurant. Again, this guy is a world-class chef, and he's partnered with, if not financially, cooking-wise, he's partnered with a young woman. Her character must be at least in her mid to late 20s, but she looks really young, who is also a great chef, but had a catering business that went under. So she's sort of looking to learn from him. But the second season, a lot of it is just about the food. So they send the various workers out to different locations so they can learn more. So like one guy is sent to Denmark to learn about desserts, and oh my gosh, the food looks so divine. Storytelling is done really well. It's a bit manic at times because clearly there's a lot of mental health issues in one person's family, and so there are some episodes that are really hard to watch because you're looking into like total family dysfunction. But nonetheless, it is a lot of fun, and we have to watch it after dinner because if I watch it before dinner, I get super hungry. After dinner, my husband says he gets hungry. I usually am not so bad, but the food does look really good, as long as you're not vegetarian. So that is all I have for this episode. So if you made it to this point, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to come back in early August for my next video. So until then, happy stitching.